Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, the 20th of January. This is not going to be a particular subject that I enjoy. Um, I had my last video was, let's just say, scrutinized by somebody who does not really know me. Now, I don't know if it was just the one video or she watched. I don't even know if this person was a she. This person watched other videos and decided to basically use my last video as a platform for her personal views. Not that I care about the person's personal views, nor am I interested in their personal views. I'm just going to be on here this video to reiterate and reintroduce myself. First off, this is my videos. This is my platform. If you do not like what I have to say or what I'm saying or what I look like, keep it to yourself. I don't care. I'm a natural person. I do not comb my hair for everybody when I first wake up. In fact, this is my hair combed. Okay? My hair has a mind of its own, and 9 times out of 10, I have to put gel in it before I go to work. I'm at home. When I'm at home, I will look the way I want to look. If you got a problem with that, that's on you, not me. Don't tell me to comb my hair. Don't tell me what to do. That's the first. I dislike that. I never ever tell anybody when they're in their own home what they should look like. Okay? I don't go out of my home looking like a slob. Alright? I know the difference. 2, I was raised in the military. My father was a 20-year veteran. I attempted to go in the military, but because of medical issues, I did not make it very far. That's the second. Okay. Third, I know my history and I know my background. This country is falling apart because it's a Republican country. Okay. Look at your history. Rome crumbled because they were Republicans. Alright. As for being a socialist person, no, I'm not a socialist. Your definition of socialist actually refers to more communism than socialism. Because if you look at Europe, their medical system is a social medical system, and it works better than ours. Okay? I don't normally do not talk about politics, but because the factor of the person we have as a president is a complete and utter idiot, yeah, I'm going to say something about that. Alright? I know my lineage. I can trace my lineage further than most people can trace their lineage. I can trace it back to I can trace most of my family back to General George Washington. We had an ancestor who was a Scottish Scout. We can even trace my mom's side of the family to Robert de Bruce of Scotland. So please, you want to judge me? Fine and dandy. Just keep it to yourself, because I will lose my shit. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let me introduce myself. My name is James Henson. I am 48 years old. I am the son of an Air Force staff sergeant. I am well versed in a lot of different areas. Right now, I am literally reintroducing myself to the Bible, because there has been a very long expanse of my time that I had stepped away from that. I had gotten into, well, let's just put it this way. I'm going to give you a brief history. I was born Clark Air Force Base, Angeles City, Philippine Islands. I seen Germany before the reunification. My favorite president in my lifetime so far has been Ronald Reagan. Why? Because 5 minutes after he was inaugurated into office, a lot of our POWs and a lot of our missing soldiers from Vietnam that were being held hostage or held in internment camps were returned home. Second, when Gaddafi of Libya decided to shoot down an airline with 4 American soldiers returning home, he did not hesitate to send a fleet of battleships into the Gulf, into the Mediterranean, and bombard the crap out of Gaddafi's home city or wherever he was, just to make a point that America does not deal with these people. But ever since, our presidents have either had personal agendas or have been cupcakes. I grew up in the military. I've seen Tucson, Arizona, Little Rock, Arkansas, Hahn Air Base, West Germany, and then Phoenix after when my father retired in '84. He passed away in '87. I wasn't even 16 when that happened. In fact, between the age of 15 and 16, I had 2 aunts, a grandmother, and my father, or my only living grandmother at the time, and my father passed away within an 18-month period. I lost it. I mean, I was raised an upright Christian child, and I lost it. I literally, dug, or yeah, I literally started studying every known written religion there was out there. Everything from the old pagan Druidism, shamanism, Mohammedanism, Buddhism, Catholicism, Mormon, Christian. I read every religious text possible, whether it was in the library, on the internet at the time, just to make sense of the world. And I had discovered one crucial, quintessential fact, that it does not matter how you call God God. They all have a central word, whether it was God, Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna. Nearly 90% of the information I read had that focus, that central focus. Now, you might not agree with me for reading all that information and having that stuff rattle around in my head, but in the end, it brought me back to my roots. It brought me back to Christianity. Now, one of the many things I did learn from these studies, especially when it came to the old medical parts of Native American religion and shamanism and Druidism, is the natural medicines, the herbal medicines, the non-chemical laced medication worked better than anything I've ever had out there. It was natural, it was focused, it worked directly with the cause of the problem, not the, the cause of the problem, not the side effects of the problem. And I discovered this 2 different ways. One, when I was a teenager and I went to psychiatric help 3 different times, a total of 90 days in an actual behavioral health, mental health institution in Phoenix, the doctors were prescribing me antidepressants and antipsychotics. And after the 90 days, they had to take me off the medication. because of the fact that my body had literally built an instantaneous immunity to the drug, um, of the time, late '80s or mid '90s. Um, they basically told me that if they did not take me off the medication because they kept on increasing it, the toxins created by the medication itself that was floating around in my bloodstream could kill me if they increased the dosage one more time. Of course, at the time, I was just like, bring it on, please. I had no, at the time, I had no reason in my mind to survive, to live, basically. And then I found not marijuana, not those kind of drugs, but I found alternative medicines and methods of dealing with my depression and my desire to basically take out anybody who pissed me off. Um, One, I removed myself from the situation that was causing me the desire to kill. Um, and two, I found things that made me happy, and they weren't even drug related. They were just things. Um, Anything to do with getting out in nature, science fiction, fantasy novels and books, whatever basically took my brain away from what was going on. The downside of that, though, is I still have from time to time the desire to focus on something that takes my brain away from whatever's causing me issues. Which, unfortunately, because of my job, it takes away some of my time with my wife. Let's see here. I was at the age of 17. I was still in high school, and I dropped out. I dropped out in the middle of my 12th grade year, because I didn't feel that school was doing me any good. I wasn't learning as much as I thought I could. That, in fact, 9 times out of 10, I was educating the certain teachers on linguistic pronunciation of foreign languages. World and American history for me was difficult. Not because of the factor that it was hard material, but because of the factor I learned firsthand about what happened in Europe during World War One, World War Two. Um, American history was not written by everybody. It was written by the victors. It didn't tell the Native American side. And at the time, I was big time into Native American stuff because I was studying. I was on my own studying information that was not in the world history books because I was reading it from different sources. Excuse me. That in a factor, well, so I got into clashes with my teacher. Not clashes to the point where it sent me to the principal's office, but it was more like, this is what your information is telling us, but this is the information I read, or this is the information I've gained through my own personal resources. Same with world history. When we got into European history, the biggest problem I was having was the factor that because my world history teacher never went to Europe, he, I should say, was coming from a book. I was there, this is how you pronunciate it. Everybody here in the States says Stuttgart, and no. I'm going to get that one wrong, because that was the biggest one we had problems with. But the pronunciation, if you've never heard it from an actual person from the country, the pronunciation can be very difficult. they say a foreign language is hard is the hardest. Like most languages are harder than American. No, American language is actually the most annoying, difficult, improper language ever. Um, because the factor everything here is neutral, but in Europe, a table is not neutral unless it's just a table. Depending on what the table is or what the usage of the table is, depends on if it's male, female, or neutral. So a lot of people sit there and go, that's difficult to understand. No, not really, because I mean, a dining room table. A dining room table has feminine objects on it. It has doilies. It has place settings. It has something that's considered more feminine. Yet a work table, which is a man's thing because it's a workbench. It's got tools and whatnot. It's male. If it has nothing on it, if it's just a plain table with nothing on it, it's neutral. So it's funny. Um, but anyhow, I learned that firsthand from being in Germany for 3 years. Um, Now, after my high school days, I kind of went adrift. After high school, I didn't go directly into college. I didn't go into the military. I didn't go into higher learning or anything like that. I just went adrift. In actuality, because of my um, difficulties at home, because of what was going on there, and it's another story. But let's just say my mom found another, not a husband. They never got married, but they were boyfriend, girlfriend, however you want to put it at their age. She was in a group called Parents Without Partners, or PWP. Um, it helped her out because she needed to get out and be social and whatnot. And I didn't want to be social at first, anyhow. But then when she took me to an event at Chuck E. Cheese, where basically the divorced or widowed parents would bring in their kids and they'd all get together and the kids would go play games and whatnot while the parents just sat around and chatted. Um, I became a little bit more social. I was somewhat socially awkward, but I was with a group of people who were in similar situations as myself. There might have been one out of five that actually had a parent pass away, while everybody else were product of divorce. Um, it's a sad thing when two people can no longer stay together to help raise a child, but it happens. I don't fully understand the mechanics of it, but it is what it is. And then I got into a program for people with social issues or issues with getting jobs, or it's just a program that basically helps you live out in the world. Um, Learn how to basically handle life outside of your parents' house. Um, Most of the people in this program were like me, either did not have somebody who showed you how to do certain things like cook, balance a checkbook, find a job, things like that. Um, it was suggested by my psychiatrist, and she helped us get into it. That program lasted a year and a half before I left, and by the time I left, um, I had a job. I had an understanding of jobs and how to get them and things like that, and still had difficulty with money, but at least I understood it. I didn't like the fact that part of my income was food stamps. Now that could be anything from a pride thing to an upbringing, because my father raised me to be, not everything's free. It always costs somebody or something. At food stamps, it costs the general public because their income tax or their taxes or whatever goes into people getting food stamps, people getting I don't even know how to pronounce. I don't even know how to describe it other than French benefits. A free ride. Now at the age of 48, I understand there are those people out there who cannot get jobs for one reason or another and rely on this. Now, I don't turn my nose up. I don't get all upset about people who have food stamps and whatnot. There are plenty of people out there who deserve it. There are also plenty of people out there who are basically using the system to basically not have to work. Those are the people I don't like, because the fact that you're getting a free ride, you're getting free food, you're getting free money to basically live in a government housing of one form or another, but you're not even attempting to work. Those are the people who get me upset. Everybody finds a way to cheat the system in one way or another. Now, the person who's gotten me to do this, who's pushed me to put this video out, they said they were in the military. Their attitude and their words and everything that they wrote down does not say that to me. It says upstart. It says a lot of negative things to me, and I'm trying not to focus on that. That and the factor, I'm the type of person, I have a hard time. I have been judged, ridiculed, and put down all my youth. Government said because of the fact that they did not understand how to diagnose or deal with children with ADHD, hyperactivity, things of that accord. Now, this is back in the 70s and 80s. It might have changed. Now, one of the things the government told my parents, which kind of frustrated my father, was because of my ADHD hyperactivity, I would never get above my educational level. I would always be 2 levels below. Lie. Outright lie. Because by the time I got into high school and I got into my special ed classes, I had 2 teachers that basically proved otherwise. One of them was my reading teacher. Now, we had discovered I have test anxiety. I still do. This particular reading teacher basically said, you need to do 2 book reports per semester. Yeah, per semester. So, and her classroom was lined all the way around with bookshelves, with books galore. Now, my first year with her, she basically said, you pick a book. It could be any book as long as it's not a comic book or picture novel or anything with pictures in it. It has to be 90% words. It can have a couple pictures, like at the beginning, that say, hey, this chapter, and an image of the chapter. My first book that I picked up, and I picked it up because of the title. The title was Call of the Wild by Jack London. I picked it up and I devoured that book. I had that book read within 2 weeks. Now, this is, at that point in time, beyond my norm. Why? Because I was never interested in reading. Never. Okay? I read that book from cover to cover in a 2-week period. I could not put that book down. Bingo! We just discovered something that Jim can do that will get him to pass the grades. Get him to read a book that piques his interest. If it does not pique his interest, he does not do well. Now, most schools will be like, okay, you read this book, you have to write an essay. Not my reading teacher. She said, okay, you read the book. Tell me what you took out of the book. Tell me about the book. Now, this was something that also helped me out because of the fact that it was not a written essay. It was not something I had to remember and write down. Because to get it from here to a piece of paper was very difficult. Still is, unless I focus. I have to focus. But anyhow, I gave her the verbal essay. For you, those of you who are curious, this is tea. This is Highland tea. I was gifted a box of this from Liz. She knows who she is if she's watching this video. It's a very delicious tea. It's as good, if not better, than the Irish breakfast tea that I've been drinking beforehand. So, thank you very much. Anyhow, she said, okay, you can pick another book, or my choice, not her choice, my choice, I'm sorry. I can find a book, read it, and if she's read it, she'll give me a verbal essay. If not, she'll take it home, read it, and then ask for a verbal essay. The only difficult thing about that was the factor I'd have to wait for her to read it. Well, the next group of books I got was by an author. Her name is Mary Summer Rain, and her books were the first book I picked up of hers was intriguing because of the title. The title was Phantoms Afoot. Now, at first my brain was like, Phantoms Afoot? What could be afoot about a phantom? I did not know at the time that a phantom was a ghost. It was ghost stories about her experiences with various ghosts, spirits, and whatnot in her home state. I'm not going to say what the state was, but she used a combination of, well, she didn't use a combination. She used her Native American shaman training to assist these lost souls that were still roaming the earth to go into the light, so to speak. That put me over the edge. Not over the edge in like I couldn't handle it, but over the edge of like, oh my God, there's things that I understand and I feel strongly about that I've never read or experienced or dealt with or anything of that nature out there. And I had to find this woman's entire collection. At the time, she had four to five books out. And each book dealt with either her experience with Native American shamanism, where she learned it, how she learned it, what it was, the whole thing. And Native American shamanism isn't the whole Hollywood hullabaloo of somebody prancing around the circle or any of that stuff. It has more to do with medicine and healing and dealing with spirits and being one with nature, the communion of nature. And by the time I got out of high school, out of her reading class, her report was, Jim is reading college and beyond level books. So not only was I above my educational level of the time, but I was reading beyond most educational levels. Right there was just like, I can prove anybody wrong when they sit down and try to slap a label on me. Okay? That began a very lifelong, continuous study of anything and everything I can get my hands on. But thanks to my wife bringing me back down, well, she keeps me down. She keeps me from going nuts. It wasn't until the late 90s. So basically between high school and the late 90s, I was kind of adrift. I did do a few things. I did work 2 summers one summer in Yellowstone National Park, which was awesome. And at the time I wasn't married, and I was like, I'm just going to stay here for the rest of my life. Didn't work out that way, which is fine. God has a plan for me. But I was still reading whatever I could get my hands on that interests me. Now, I'm going to say this again. I don't care about politics. I'm not interested in politics. I listen to people ramble about it. I listen. Thing is, a lot of people who like Trump don't know his past. I'm gonna give you a brief on Trump's past. Donald Trump was born into a rich family. They say that Donald Trump, at a certain age, was given $1 million by his father and said, "Go make more. Go make something of of yourself." He is a very good businessman when it comes to a certain extent. As a politician, not so much. In my mind, my eye. This is my opinion. He had one particular piece of property that he owned or bought, and he made it into a casino. This casino, which does not exist thanks to Hurricane Sandy, was called the Taj Mahal, Atlantic Beach, New Jersey. I went there once. The place was a dump. It was falling apart. It was in disrepair. Needed it needed him to pay attention to his investment. No, he did not. He is known for buying up pieces of property, building it up, making it look beautiful and snazzy and attractive. But once it becomes a disinterest, he lets it fall apart. They say the one reason why Trump Tower stays the way it is because he lived in it. He don't live in it no more. He's got the White House. I'm afraid to see what Trump Tower is going to start to look like in the next decade. But that's all I'm going to say. Those of you who want to defend him, that's fine. Don't defend him on my channel. I don't care. I do not care. Anyhow, this is going to have to get split in half because the factor is getting over 30 minutes. In 97. No. Let me go back. 96. No? Yeah, 96. It was either 96 or 97. It was right around there. I attempted to go into the military. I got in there. Well, let me just go back. I went into the recruiters, into the Army. I took my aptitude test. When they got the results from with the aptitude test, they came to me and said, "What would you like to do for us?" Not what can we do for you. They basically said that I had the highest score that they've seen in years. Now that speaks loudly to me because the fact that I even though I did good in high school and I dropped out in 12th grade and I got my GED with extremely good scores. I mean, above average average on math, above average on social studies, above average on science, average if not slightly below on reading, and basically most of my scores were either average or above, except for reading. It was just slightly below. But anyhow, the recruiters came to me and said, "What would you like to do for us?" And I just kind of went, "What? I don't understand the question." And the recruiters basically said, "Your scores are so high that you can do anything you wanted to for the military." And I just kind of went, "Well, I really don't want to see combat. I don't think I could handle combat. Because either I would break down and get into a fetal position and want to die, or I would just go ballistic and start shooting anything that moved." I don't know which. I do not like conflict. I really don't. But when the occasion occurs, depending on the conflict, I rise to the occasion. For instance, I'm jumping all over the board. But for instance, when my father-in-law passed away, I rose and did everything conceivably possible for my wife. But anyhow, when I when I finally decided on a MOS, military occupational skill, it was cook, food service. Why? One, I don't think I'd ever see the front line of a conflict. Two, I liked cooking. I wanted to learn how to cook better and more. Unfortunately, I can cook. I don't that much. I leave it up to Jerry. Not only because of the fact that she can handle multitasking at the stove, but she cooks better. She honestly cooks better than I do in nearly 90% of what we cook. She likes my scrambled eggs, especially when I make them with garlic salt and bacon. Um, Garlic salt and crumbled bacon in the egg mixed in. She likes my homemade chili mac. So there's a few things that I can make that she likes, but for the most part, she's the better cook. I'll admit to it. I admit to my fault. I know I have a lot of flaws. Um, yeah, this is gonna have to get cut three to four parts. I'm sorry, folks. Anyhow, yeah, I'm gonna try to leave it at this and put the whole thing in at once. Anyhow, in no, I'll break it down. I'm sorry. Anyhow, I got into the military, wanting to be a cook. Now, I knew from various stories, and I knew from various other family members who have been in the military. Military training is two stages. Stage one is basic training, aka boot camp. We don't say that in the military because the factor is frowned upon. Because the term boot camp basically was an old school term, meaning the drill sergeants can basically kick you around, curse at you, smack you in the back of the head, things like that. That was my dad's era. The new era, which unfortunately is cupcake era, which means they can't punch you, they can't kick you, they can't curse at you, they have to be loud but polite. Um, and that's why I call it cupcake camp nowadays, because they can't do what they used to do. They can't even do what they could do when I was in basic, because of there was an event during the time I was there, and what happened was every night they choose a group of people, 2 people at a time, to do what they call fire watch. And what this is they wake you up and you have to be up. They'll wake you up in the middle of the night and you have to be up for at least 2 hours. And you have to basically keep an eye at certain locations for possible fire. And well, one particular night, somebody fell asleep on the job. Yeah. They woke us up at 3 in the morning, an hour and a half before they normally wake us up, to basically come out onto the proving grounds, or whatever you want to call it. I don't remember all the terms. And go into front lean rest, which is for those who don't know what front lean rest is if you've ever done push-ups, that position where you're up and you're waiting to go down to do your push-up. Well, you have to stay up. That's what they call front lean rest. Well, this one old guy, a big dude, pretty tall, basically told the drill sergeant he didn't have to do it because he was asleep in his ruck. No, 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 no. You do not tell your drill sergeant what you are or are not going to do. That's a surefire way to get your butt into a deep pit that you don't want to be in. Well, the drill sergeant gave him a choice: drop or be dropped. The kid was like, "Oh, you couldn't drop me. You're not supposed to touch me. Blah blah blah." And you signed a dotted line to be a servant of the U.S. military. You do what you're told until you get a high enough rank to be the one telling people what to do. So this big old drill sergeant, big old black guy, not racist, just that's his skin color. I mean, this guy was built like a brick outhouse. And drill sergeant takes off his hat, a big old county mounting hat, a big old sheriff's looking hat. He takes it off, puts it up in the air, lets go of it, hits his kid in the gut, snaps that hat out of the air, and puts it back on his head. And this poor kid is like doubled up. And I can tell that the drill sergeant did not use full force. This was like a military love tap, okay? But I was just like, I didn't see nothing. And because we're not supposed to be able to see that, because back our faces are supposed to be, we're supposed to be looking down at the ground. But I saw it from the corner of my eye. I didn't say nothing. I stifled my laugh. I didn't shake my head, but I was just like, oh my Lord. This kid just got himself a lesson. But during that time in basic, I developed what they call shin splints, which is basically the muscles around the shin are starting to like almost pull away off the muscle, off the bone. And because of one thing or another, from the physical pain and the I was not fully prepared for the physical aspect of basic. I was prepared for the mental aspect of being yelled at and whatnot, because child of the military, by the time you're a certain age, you understand discipline and you understand what it means when somebody's yelling at you to listen up and do what you're told, or else. I got my fair share of spankings as a child, so. Anyhow, this is getting way too long, and I'm definitely going to have to cut in half. Fast forward. Fast forward to the next year, and actually, let me just jump back. The reason why I went into the military, and I wasn't going in as I was going in to be a reservist. The reason why I was doing that is so I can get the funding to finish my school. What I was finishing was Ozark Christian College. I had 1 year worth. I probably could have done better if my grade point average was better, but due to test anxiety and me not realizing I can go to the professors and say, hey, I have issues with test anxiety. Is there anything I can do to take the test verbally? I didn't realize that was an option until after the fact. Yeah, that's what I get for not asking questions. But anyhow, fast forward to after my month and a half worth of military training. Granted, I did get out on a general discharge for my medical issues. Not that I didn't try. I did try. I respect, not only because of my childhood, but because of my own education, basically. I respect those who can get through basic training, because that's not that easy. I mean, you might be prepared physically because you've done all the exercise and you've gotten into a routine and your body's fit and blah, blah, blah. Some people can't handle the psychological aspect. So, yeah. That's one of the reasons why I respect those who can make it through training. I respect those who not only act like actual military personnel if they've gone into the military. I know plenty of people who have the dignity and respect of a military officer but never went into the military. It's because of upbringing. You cannot deny your upbringing. You can basically be a spoiled brat as a child. Go into the military, you come out the other end and you are still spoiled, but you have that military background. That in fact, there are some military people. There are some people who've gone through the military and they come out and they act like complete and utter schmucks because they have this high and mighty attitude. Oh, I've been in the military. I went through the military training. I did 4 years military. Blah blah blah. You should respect me. Da, da, da. I know. No, nah. I'm sorry. If you come out of the military acting like that, either A, something was wrong with you before you went in, or B, you got brainwashed by whatever you did. That's also my personal feeling, my personal experience. Fast forward to spring of 98. I went to Yellowstone for the first time. Had a great experience out there. Unfortunately, because of the fact that I became overly concerned about my mother, because she, whether she wants to accept it or not, has certain psychological issues. I don't think she wants to be alone, but she wants to be, if she's around people, she wants to be around people who are quiet, who are not noisy, who do not really do much to disturb her. So instead of staying the full 6 months, I was supposed to be, well, April to November? No. Well, it was summertime. It was like mid to late spring. It was supposed to be until like, no, it was supposed to be about 4 to 5 months. So it was supposed to be like May to August or September or something like that. I was doing that in hopes of getting money to go back to college. I really, really wanted to attempt to go back to college. I still do. I just don't know when or how. I did have an old friend from college who I keep in contact with suggest taking the OCC courses online. So I gotta look into that. It's one of the many things I gotta look into. Fast forward to the fall of, no. No, that had to be 99 because it was the fall of 99 that, it was July of 99. So yeah, I went to, so it'd be a year after Yellowstone. We had a computer and the internet was becoming a big thing, and AOL was a big thing at the time. So I jumped on, I learned how to go onto AOL into their chat rooms. Now, a lot of people can get in trouble with this, but I got lucky. Because that's how I met my wife. I went into a room that the title was intriguing. I'm not going to make I'm not going to tell you the titles or anything like that. The title was intriguing. So I had gone in there and I had basically sat there and watched conversations, and I kind of went, okay, interesting. And it was people, general chatting, some of them trying to basically pick up on women. Um, I didn't really specifically target anybody for a chat. I just happened to put in a few words and kind of fishing, basically. And not in the sense of I'm trying to find somebody to lie to or con out of, even though some of the conversation between me and Jerry Ann at the time were not full truths. They were half truths. Um, yeah, half truth, as in I lied about how much money I had in the bank, and I lied in the fact that I lived alone when in actuality I was living with mom at the time. Um, but anyhow, we got to talking, and after about a month of online communication and phone calls, um, basically my phone bill ended up being $600 in a month. And Jerry Ann was the one who basically threw out the suggestion of me coming to New York to meet her and her family, and if things didn't go right, she'd be willing to pay for a ticket for me to come home. Well, I borrowed the money, got on a bus, and went to New York. That was August 5th of 99. Now, I spent a whole year out there. And towards the latter half of that year, I proposed. We decided to get married. August 5th of 2000, a year after we physically met. And the rest is history. Yes, as a new newlywed couple, we had our ups and downs and our arguments and our fights and things like that. But we both decided, no matter what the situation was, as long as there was an inkling, a spark of love, of respect, of dignity, the whole 9 yards, we would never part, and we've never parted. There's been a couple times where we wondered what our relationship was like. We wondered how long it would last. We wondered if we should separate. But in the end, when the dust settled, we were still there for each other. We had each other's back. And that's what mattered. All right. This has become nearly an hour-long conversation, so I'm going to have to cut it in half, or at least 4 segments. I am sorry. I felt, because of this one person, that I needed to do this. Now, any of you, I don't remember if I took the conversation, whatever, offline, if I unpinned it or whatever. But hopefully, if this person is still viewing my channel and they see these parts, it's going to be at least a 4-parter, they will finally understand where I'm coming from. And if they don't, and if they want to still create ripples, negativity, whatever, they can go someplace else, and I will remove everything they've said. Because, for as I'm concerned, those comments were inappropriate for my channel. Not the fact that they argued or wanted to dispute who I am and what I said, but because of the factor, the first couple comments I made were unnecessary. Anyhow, if you like any of these bits and pieces, it looks like it's going to be a 4-parter. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see any more of my ramblings, go ahead and hit that bell. YouTube will notify you when I do. I'm trying to put one up every other day. Anyhow, um, that's that for today. Have a good day. God bless.